Hello folks, this is Rob, and I'm at my studio, X Music Studios in Los Angeles, California. And today, this is Volume 3 of Anatomy of a Mix. And if you watch Volume 1 and Volume 2, it's the natural progression of things. I'm actually going to go in and do some tweaking on the snare, some EQ and some compression tricks, and probably the kick drum also. And we'll probably get to bass too, and adding in the bass track to see how the drums and bass sit together. Once again, the name of the band is The Few, and the record is called The Reason Why, and we are working in Steinberg's Nuendo10.3. This stuff especially can be kind of translated in other DAWs. I kind of thought about that after Volume 2. Some of that stuff probably not in a lot of other DAWs, but you get the gist of what I'm working on. I hope you find this information useful, and I hope you enjoy. So as you recall, in episodes 1 and episodes 2, we just did some basic line leveling and then panning, and then we added some supplemental kicks and snares, and then some parallel compression, and then did some distortion for the snare drum. Now I'm just going to go into the snare group channel and dial in the EQ a little bit, and then do some compression tricks. So I'll open up that group channel, the snare drum, solo it. Not bad. I'm going to roll off the low end and then add some low mids, say 160. And I'm going to roll off, I hear a lot of cymbal crashes in it too, so I'm going to roll a little bit of that off. And then I'm just going to do some real grimy ass shit. I select an insert. Universal Audio Teletronics LA2A, the Legacy Edition. I really should buy the LA2A set, but this plugin is just magical. Even though the stock one that came with my UAD plugin set. So I'm going to get the peak reduction and just jam it all the way to 100%. And then raise the gain back up. Next up, I'm going to just add a gate. Do a super quick attack on it. Roll it back a little, maybe. I'm going to cut it pretty short. 95 milliseconds, actually. Good general threshold there. Kind of sounds like crap on its own, doesn't it? That's what it's supposed to do. I'm going to slide those down, and in the first slot I'm going to change it up and put the multi-band compressor. And I have a snare preset in here that I've used on some different stuff. Let's see what that sounds like. That wakes it up a little bit. Get that top end crack on it. The reason I've gated it so tightly is that I'm going to use the overheads and the room mics to and some reverbs actually to pull off the tail a little bit. I just want to have control over it and not have too much cymbal bleed coming in on the snare itself, because it's pretty hopped up right now. Or I may just do the Lord Aldi trick and throw an L1, a Waves L1 on everything, just as a limiter to stop any overages. I'm still not hitting it yet, but let's just leave it there. Very similar on the kick drum. Let's see what that's sounding like. Just gonna roll off the very lows on it. And again, go to my standard Steinberg multi-band compressor. I really do love this thing. I really love the old one that was in like the old version of Nuendo 2, 3, and 4. Really, really stellar plugin. No longer available. I have the J-Bridge version of it, but maybe I will pull that up. So just getting the kick and snare with a lot of punch on it. Once again, these soloed tracks of just the individual group channels, they kind of sound crappy on their own, and they're kind of supposed to, believe it or not. Let's loop that tom section. And I'm going to use the Universal Audio 1176 LN on the toms. And I'm going to go all buttons in. Put a pretty fast attack on it and a slow release. And then drive the crap out of it. Getting a lot of cymbal bleed on these too, so I'm going to actually filter some of that out. I'm going to take all the highs out on the EQ and see what we're getting here. Kind of wish I would have recorded these drums, but I wish a lot of things. So at this point I'm able to hear everything. I'm not really happy with the sounds that I'm getting. I may do some more supplemental kicks and snare samples on this, but I'm actually able to hear the groove. And so I think now what I'll do is bring in the bass and see how that sits with the drums. I'm going to add a group track, and I'm going to make it a mono track and see what we're dealing with the bass tracks here. My bass, send it to my group. Okay, so here's the DI. And this says bass mooer. It's pretty woofy sounding. I think what I'm going to do actually is try to reamp this. Let's try amplitude. We have a winner. Don't like to try too hard, to squeeze something from nothing. So when something sounds good off the bat, I know that this is a good starting point. Then I'm going to just add my friend Chris Lord Algie's bass. Ooh, that thing's noisy. Whew. That introduces a crap ton of noise. And then I'm going to add a side chain here. 6 dB of gain reduction on the side chain. And you can see here I just did a super quick attack, no hold, and a release about 100 milliseconds. So I could just get the front end of that kick drum to dip out underneath the bass. Whew, man, that CLA plugin definitely introduces a lot of noise. So maybe it's now I'll add an effects track, and let's go for a reverb. I think I'm going to use the Universal Audio EMT 140. It's a really, really great plate verb. And I'm going to start with a stereo enhancement and then just raise the reverb time up to almost 2 seconds. So it's a very, very weird volume 3. A lot of trial and error, trying a couple of different things there, but it's the minutia, the weird stuff, the odd sounding stuff that gets you to where you need to be. And this will make a little bit more sense when we get into some of the other things like adding in the guitars. You'll understand why I needed to have the kicks and snares be so abrasive and to cut like that. And I hope you found this information interesting and maybe learned something. I look forward to seeing what your comments are going to be. I know I do a bunch of stuff that's not probably frowned upon, but I know that it works for me, and maybe it'll work for you too. Once again, thanks for watching.